Bill Fairman and Jonathan Davis with the Passive Wealth Show. Michelle. Now I'm talking about my wife. My work wife, which is also my sister, Wendy Sweet, will not be joining us today. She is not in. We are Carolina Capital Management. We are lenders in the Southeast for real estate investors. And if you're interested in getting a loan, then go to carolinahardmoney.com. Click on the Apply Now tab. If you're a passive investor looking for passive returns, click on the Accredited Investor tab. So before we get started, I wanted to give you a little teaser. That's what we do in this industry, right? We try to tease stuff, but we forget to start it, and that's why it falls flat.
A minute into it, we're like, oh, we're going to tease you guys. If you stuck with us this long, enjoy this tease.
So, real estate investors always have some interesting stories to tell.
Very.
How about if your first flip you sold to an adult industry professional?
That'd be cool.
Would you like to hear that
right?
story?
Sure.
Well, we'll get to it right after this. Sorry for the tease. It's a true tease, but anyway, by the way, don't forget to share, like, subscribe to our show, hit the bell, all that good stuff. We do have a comment section on either the side or underneath the screen, depending on the platform you're joining us from. And just ask a question. We'll be happy to answer it. If we can't, we'll find a professional that will do it for us. How's your day going?
Going great. I just didn't know if I was allowed to talk.
Well, unfortunately, Wendy isn't in here
to kind of poke and jab at you.
Say, shut up. It's time for somebody else to say something.
Yeah. No.
Do you have anything to say?
Bill, I have so much to say, but we do not have the time.
We have a great guest, Javier Enojo. He is from the Raleigh area. He also does business in Texas as well.
Mm-hmm.
He started off fixing and flipping homes, and he has moved into the multifamily industry.
Yep.
So without further ado, let's bring Javier on.
Welcome.
How you doing? Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey guys, a pleasure. Nice to be here with you guys. Appreciate it.
I heard this story about your selling your first flip, and
oh yeah,
I just have to get a little bit more detail.
I haven't heard the story.
All right, so this is on Facebook, right? So I gotta keep it PG.
Well, it's also on YouTube.
YouTube is a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
so I started my real estate career just a little bit over 6 years ago, and our very first flip that we ended up buying and fixing it up, selling it. I ended up selling it to an adult film actress, right? So it was very interesting. So when we were at the closing or doing a walkthrough, et cetera, she was like, man, this is a very pretty lady. And then I would look at her husband. I'm like, man, that's not a good looking guy. So it's kind of like when you see me. It's kind of like when you see my wife and myself, but she's not in that industry. Okay, just make that point. But you'll be like, how does he have a girl like that? That's what I was thinking. That's what people think when they see me and my wife. But my wife and I. But look, it was my first flip, and the contract said refrigerator conveys. I'm like, what does that mean? Convoy means I take it with me, right? That's my thoughts. Like, all right, I'm taking the fridge. So I took the fridge, and sure enough, when we closed, got a call back from the agent. Hey, where's the fridge? I'm like, oh, okay, I got to take it back. So I took it back, and at that time, one of my sons how old was he? He was 19. He's our boy from Russia. We adopted him a few years back, and so his English is pretty good, but it's a little rough. So him and I went to take the refrigerator back, and connected it, and she's talking to the young ladies there talking to somebody to replace her carpet because she didn't like the color. The carpet guy leaves. I'm connecting the fridge, and I'm talking to her, and she gets a cigarette out and starts smoking in the kitchen. I'm like, oh, okay. And she says, $5,000 to replace this carpet downstairs. That's a lot of money, don't you think? So yeah, it's a little pricey. And then next thing she said was, "That's a lot of bleep. I gotta suck." That's what she said. Like, I'm like, what? And I'm sitting there, and I see my behind her is my 19-year-old Russian boy. And he looks like does a double take. Like, did I just hear that? Because my English is not any good. Like his English is like not that great. Anyways, so that's how I found out that. So you guys being hard money lenders, guess what my next question was? I said, so what do you guys do for your retirement? What kind of returns do you get on your money? I was trying to raise money.
Sure.
I was trying to see maybe she had money to lend, right? I mean, that was like my next question. I always have this answer for anything anybody ever asks me, right? Or anything ever says, hey, this happened, this happened. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I deal with that situation quite often. Or, hey, that's awesome. We deal with that situation quite often. This is the only time I've never been able to answer that. I come back. That was not my comeback. I couldn't do it. Anyway, so yeah, that's how I find out what she did. We talked for a little while, and it was very interesting. Very interesting. So
I bet. Well, that kind of puts to rest that you can only be in the adult film industry if you're out in LA, right?
Yeah. And where was what state?
It was in Raleigh. Yeah,
In Raleigh,
she was Southern girl, and yeah, she fly back and forth to California and back. So
Well,
yeah,
that's pretty interesting.
yeah, it was definitely interesting for sure. I'm like, wow.
That was pretty funny. So I understand that you got started in a rich man, poor dad,
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
rich dad, poor dad
Yep.
event, and you were very skeptical. And when you first got started in this, and I see that happens a lot, but you took action. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, for sure. I'm like, we my good friend and myself, we bought the program, we split it, and I think we paid like 35K. We split that half 50-50. And we bought our first house, I guess 6-7 years ago. It was on the MLS. You could still buy some decent deals, but back then you could buy some really good ones. And we weren't even halfway through our first like course, right? It's called Momentum, or like the basics. But we just took some action. We got it under contract. We're like, now what do we do now, right? Like, we got to find money. It was hard, right? Because we didn't have any connections. Looking for the hard money lenders, like all over the internet, and like people were like, send me 10 grand, and then we'll give you we'll give you money. And like, trying to like, do I send money before? Like it was so. It was definitely a learning experience quickly, right? Because we're like, shoot, we got to close on this. Like, we got it under contract. Now we got to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the way my personality is, right? It's kind of what is shoot, aim, ready, or it's backwards, right? That's just my personality. But yeah, that's how we got started. Just fix and flip. That was pretty much our very first project.
Well, what made you want to get into doing fix and flip, and what sparked that? I guess that program being interesting to you and your friend.
Yeah. So like when I was there, he first told me it was 2 hours, and when he picked me up from my house, that should have been the first red flag, because he picked me up, and it was like a 3-day weekend, right? Like, come on, man. And like, I don't really need the motivation, right? Like, just tell me what I need to do, and if I want to do it, I'll do it. Yeah, I don't need you to sell me on like the future of my family, my legacy, and all that. I can, I'm, once you get a purpose, you can pretty much do anything. Motivation's not really, doesn't mean nothing. But long story short, I didn't want to do it, right? And my buddy's like, hey, I'm going to pay for it. I'm like, man, I felt bad. I'm like, okay, I guess if you get ripped off, we'll get ripped off together, right? And but I mean, the system, the process, the whole sales pitch, everything. I mean, it makes sense, right? I'm like, this can't be easy, because if it's easy, everybody would do it. And he said, hey, look, if you do it, I'm gonna do it without you or with you. So I went ahead and said, okay, I'll split it with you. I mean, that's really what it was. I wasn't like 110% pumped up. I mean, I was excited, but I wasn't like ready to run through a wall. I think if he would have said, hey, I'm not going to do it, I would have been fine. I would be like, nah, let's not do it.
That's a lot of money to put up on something. You're like, yeah, I'm not really sure.
Yep.
That's a big step. That's a big leap of faith.
Yeah, for sure.
So are you guys still partners?
Well, so we worked together for about a year and a half, and then he went to do a big project at the beach, and then I went on my own. But we're still good friends. Actually, he sent me a text last night. But no, yeah, I went my own way, and then he went his way. about a year and a half into it.
So, at what point did you feel like the single family model wasn't scalable enough?
Look, so the first year we did, a few flips, right? And like, hey, I got to split this. I really got to do a lot to make a lot of money. This is like a job, right? It's like, it's not really, it's not really passive if you're flipping. It's just a job. It's a high paying job. And I said, okay, so I got to scale, right? Either I got to start doing 5, 10. Okay, let me hit 10. Like for me, doing 10 was like, that's a big number. But then you meet somebody who does 10 and you're like, man, if that guy can do it, I can definitely do it, right? If you would have met me when I was flipping houses, you'd be like, man, this guy can do it. I can do it. And that's really what it was, right? It was just in the single family, just meeting and connecting with people that were at the next level. And then you got that belief, say, okay, I can do it, right? And you don't feel alone. But I got to the point where at the peak, we flipped, a little bit over 50 houses in one year.
Wow.
And we also were doing a lot of, wholesale deals. We did, a whole bunch. And I was getting ready to really scale to, I want to do 100, 150. And I joined a mastermind, and I had guys doing 200 a year, 100 a year, like talking, and they're like, man, these guys are killing it. And talking about their systems or processes. And I'm like, wow, I got to definitely step up my game. I most likely got to, hire some new people or kind of restructure. And then it just hit me. I'm like, man, I think, if I decide to do this all the time and energy, I can focus on another aspect of real estate that'll help me scale a lot faster, right? Which is like, multifamily and mobile home parks, self-storage, right? So that's kind of was my focus. And another thing is, I didn't really enjoy flipping houses. So Jonathan, you look, not much older than me, right? And I tell everybody I'm 24 years old, but I look like I'm 42 because I used to flip houses, right? That's what I tell people. It's a lot of brain damage, right? But I mean, I say that tongue in cheek, but it was good money and it was a great learning experience. But at the end of the day, I didn't really enjoy it. It wasn't like a super passion of mine. My wife's a lot better at it than I am. And I felt like I was going to scale to unhappiness, if that makes sense. Like I was going to scale to unhappiness.
Yeah, that's part of what Jonathan and I always talk about is that you can scale just for the purpose of scaling, and you end up with a machine that you have to constantly feed. And
Yep.
the whole point of scaling is so you can step back and become more of the business owner than working in the business. You work on the business, and it gives you a lot more freedom. You're in a position to where the business doesn't revolve around you. It makes it saleable, because then any moron can step in and continue to make money if you have the systems and processes
For
in
sure.
place. And you're correct about, it's a job. You're only as good as the last deal that you did, and you need to get in a position that you're getting more passive income than you are active income. And
For sure.
that's
Yeah.
really the only way you can pass down legacy, as well as
Yep.
go on to whatever is next for you as well.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. That's exactly what it is, right? So if you're not a systems guy, like I'm definitely not. Like I got my team now, and I say, look, I got this team together. Can you make it look pretty, right? And they'll make it look pretty for me. Because I'm definitely not the detail. Like if you want me to be unhappy, let me look at a spreadsheet all day, and I'll be miserable. But I love the people who love spreadsheets. It's like you guys are my heroes.
And they can make you a lot of money.
Yeah.
We call Jonathan spreadsheet boy around here.
Yeah, we call it you gotta love spreadsheet porn. That's what we call it.
That's good.
Especially when the numbers are high.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Right.
Numbers.
It's like you gotta love it. You gotta love it. You gotta love messing with it, tweaking with it. I'm like, how do I copy paste? I'll do a video. I want this to equal that to equal this, these to equal that minus this, and multiply this by that. I'll make a video and then send it off to my guys and let them put it together. Like, no.
Oh, that's great.
Nice.
Yeah.
So moving over to multifamily. So economies of scale, instead of having 100 doors over the spread across 10 miles, 20 miles, whatever it may be, you have 100 doors sitting on one block.
For sure.
Economies of scales are obvious, but were there other incentives or other reasons why you wanted to move into that realm and kind of, anything
Look, I,
that you would recommend to other people?
yeah, for sure. Like at the end of the day, just about every business is a sales and marketing business, right? Like your guys' business, sales and marketing. You gotta have your sales, you gotta have your marketing. Flipping houses, it's sales and marketing, right? Buying multifamily, still sales and marketing, right? You got to go market yourself, find some, do some sales and buy some stuff. But, just with multifamily is not constant, right? Like, it's not constant. Like I got 5 deals a week. So it's a little slower pace, even though we did fairly well, very, very quickly. It's a little slower pace, so I can enjoy time a little bit more. A lot sooner. Well, I could say that a lot sooner, right? Because you just start putting the systems in place, and it's kind of a slow moving machine. So there's not like you don't have to be hustling like you do with single family.
Yeah.
But I just like the fact that you buy one property, and it's one loan. Almost like one contractor, one property management company, one seller, and you got 100 doors, right? Or if you got to go buy 100 houses, it's 100 loans, 100 owners, 100 closings. I mean, it's just time wise, right? If I want to go look at 100 properties that I own in Raleigh, single family in one day, I'm not going to do it, right? I can actually fly to Tulsa, Oklahoma, look at my 208 unit apartment and fly back home, and I'm done. Like I can actually fly one day and come back in one day. So
Nice.
Now, are you, when you look at these, are you looking for a value add multifamily or kind of what's your strategy?
yeah, somewhat of value add. I mean, we closed 3 like super heavy value add deals during COVID. Like I'm talking like 50% occupied, and that's what really put us kind of like on the map. Or now we're getting really good deal flow, especially from brokers, because they noted that we were able to close when nobody could pretty much get a bridge loan during COVID. It was like pretty much they all disappeared. So yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just it's scaling, right? It's I definitely like it. I mean, it's a lot different than multifamily. I mean, than single family. It's just I like the fact that you're able to just buy one project and move on. Like be done with it. Not really move on, but like it's done, and then you got the next one, and then the next one, and it's just big chunks. And it's value add, right? It's value add. So it's 50%, 60% occupied. You got to get honestly, you got to get those like at 50 cents on a dollar, 60 cents on a dollar. I mean, like all in. I'm not talking just because you got surprises coming in and coming out everywhere. But we'll still buy a pretty property. We're buying the first kind of pretty one in about 3 weeks. That'll be in Houston, which is not really that much value add, but we got a discount on it.
Just because of the timing of it?
Yeah, timing's good, and it makes sense for our investors. It makes sense for the returns that they're looking for, the city they want. So I got some people who want, they don't, hey, we're okay in Havelock, North Carolina, small MSA. Or we got people saying, hey, I only want stuff in like $500,000 or above MSA, right? In the Southeast, right? So you got different types of personalities, different types of investors. So once you get a good list, then you're able to take something down.
So you said, for your investors, do you syndicate your deals or do you take debt for them, or combination of all the above?
Combination. Yeah, combination.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that how you first got started in multifamily, was syndicating your first deal?
Yeah. So my very first one, I have a buddy in South Carolina, and I said, hey, what can I do to make this be part of this project? Right. I don't really care what I do. I don't care how much I get. I just want to kind of learn the process, see how it goes, and then that's the way I learn. Like I'm not the best learner on a video or even sitting down taking notes. I tell people I'm a high school push out. I'm a C+ student. So I'm was never good at school. Pretty much everybody it works for me in my company has like a finance degree. I'm the only one without a college degree.
Yeah, and you're the one running it all. So there you go.
Yeah. So I just have one comment about the
Sure.
Houston property. Did you get it cheaper because it's not above sea level?
Look, for sure. I mean, Houston, you got to be careful because everything's a flood zone over there, So you definitely gotta account for that, right? Like if you're gonna pay $450 on average for insurance a year per unit, I mean, you got to calculate like 800, 1,000, right? I mean, for some of these areas when you do your underwriting, and at the end of the day, you got a cheap enough price. Yeah, who cares if it's $1,200 a year? It's 4 times more than the national average on insurance. right? But if you can afford it because you got a great deal, awesome.
Sure. Hey, listen, it's all about the cash flow. As
Yep.
long as it's
Yep.
cash flowing, it doesn't matter what the expenses are.
Yep.
Right?
That's right.
As long as it all fits. I know you were talking about masterminds, and we only have about 6 or 7 minutes
Sure.
left. So the first mastermind that you joined, was it specifically a real estate mastermind or was it a business mastermind?
It was a real estate mastermind. Yeah, real estate mastermind for sure.
Excellent. Yeah,
Yep.
we're always pushing mentors and mastermind groups that if
Yep.
you're a real estate investor, you can't do it alone. You
Yep.
need that board of directors to bounce stuff off of.
All of Bill's best ideas came from somebody else.
There we go.
And I'm quoting Glenn Stromberg here. I've never had an original idea in my life. I just know a lot of smart people and I copy what they do.
There you go. Right. Copy it. Try to make it a little bit better. Right. I mean,
Yep.
no sense in reinventing the wheel. I believe in coaching and mentoring and masterminds 110%. I wouldn't have been able to scale or make the contacts, get the help I needed, answer questions that I got, because you become a family, right? You're hanging out, 30, 40 of you, like constantly, and you become a family. A lot of deals happen between them. A lot of money's raised. You need help with something. Somebody knows somebody who can buy this, except there's just so much dealing and wheeling. And you kind of start there first, right? You start with your kind of, your mastermind group, and then you work on your, then you work your way out. Just because you got those relationships and they can close, right? It's another thing. They know they have some experience. So there's different levels of masterminds, right? You got kind of the entry level, mid level, then you get the high level, and then you have like the ultra high level. So it just depends. It's kind of hard to jump into the ultra high because some people might not qualify. For a long time, I was trying to get in a mastermind, but I wouldn't qualify. I wasn't experienced enough.
What mastermind would you recommend for other people out there trying to learn and surround themselves by some good people?
So you got to find the right mastermind, right? Probably the biggest problem with the masterminds is if you go to the wrong one, people are just talk about what they're doing, right? They just everybody has an ego at some point, and
right.
A lot of people are type A personality, so just like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Watch me, right? There's masterminds where all they do is pretty much teach systems and teach how to run a business, right? And there's masterminds where you go and you kind of hang out, and maybe only 2 hours a day, you kind of 2-3 hours, you talk systems and business, and then the rest of the time you network. That's like my kind of mastermind, right? Everybody's a little different, so I really can't recommend. It depends. If you're like a COO type, like an implementer type, man, you're gonna love to go to a mastermind that's systems and process, and like nothing but all day, right? For me, I'm like, I don't take notes. I never take notes. Like, I just don't take notes because I never go back and look at them. I'm terrible at those, but the connections are great. Like for me,
you're a deal junkie, you're a deal maker.
Yeah, I like 20% content, 80% networking, right? That's every time I do an event. Like I have a meetup in Raleigh, a multifamily meetup. It's like 25, 30 minutes of content and like an hour and a half of drinking and eating,
I get it.
So,
listen, the best thing to do is if you're going to be a part of a mastermind, everyone that you need to be a part of one that is the people have the attitude of abundance.
Yes, for sure.
And you'll get along just fine. And if
Yeah.
you're the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Javier, it was excellent having you on. If you'll stay with us through our ending here, I want to make sure that if are you taking accredited investors? Do you have a fund?
I don't have a fund, but we do 506Cs when we raise, we do some 506Bs for people that we know, but we also do a 506C for accredited investors only. Yes.
Okay, so they can contact you about
for sure
passively investing with you through
yes
the website that we have been putting up here, allstatescapitalgroup.com.
Yes. Yeah, there'll be a link in there for sure.
Excellent. Great. And we'll keep that on there as well. Folks, thank you so much for joining us on the Passive Wealth Show. I am Bill Fairman. This is Jonathan Davis. We are Carolina Capital Management. We are lenders in the Southeast. If you are interested in borrowing money, go to carolinahardmoney.com. Click on the Apply Now tab. If you're an accredited investor and you're interested in passive returns, click on the Accredited Investor tab. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff. And once again, Wendy has her Wednesday with Wednesday, one of those Wednesday,
Wednesday with Wendy. Wednesday with
where
Wendy.
she does mentoring for 30 minutes on Thursdays. Click the link, the Calendly link to get online for that. We're also participating in the Quest Expo coming up in April. It's I think it's the 21st and 2nd. But if you click on that link, if you'll put that back up, that link will give you, I believe, 50% off your ticket price. It's a 2-day event. Otherwise, we will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for joining us.